All right, it's going to start with Isaiah Harwell. He's at number 11. Braden Burry's number 12. Jalen Harrelson, 13. Jasper Johnson, Chris Senack, Bryson Tiller, Trey McKinney. All five-star prospects. Let's look at the top 10 now. AJ DeBonsa, the number one prospect in the national class of 2025. Cameron Boozer, number 2. Darren Peterson, 3. Darius Acuff, 4. We're going to have lots more on those 4 guys in just a minute. Koa Pete, 5. Caleb Wilson, 6. Nate Ament, the 7th-ranked prospect in the national class. We are going to be talking about him more in this show as well. Mikel Brown at 8. Will Riley at 9. And Malik Thomas at 10. Now, you may notice that not much has changed atop these rankings, especially in those top 6 spots. But remember, we are approaching the July recruiting period. We've got the USA Basketball 17 and under team about to go to Turkey. We've got 2 Scholastic weekends coming up. So the next 6 weeks are going to bring a lot of movement. And suffice it to say, things have gotten a lot closer. But let's break down the top 4 prospects. We will begin with AJ DeBonsa. This is just a jumbo wing, 6'9" now. 7-foot plus wingspan, over 200 pounds, and you can see the pretty shooting touch right there. More so than any other player in this class, he has an instinct for scoring the ball in ways that translate to the highest level of the game. The other thing that I would say about AJ, this is someone who has had a big rep since he was in 8th grade, and to his credit, he has not yet fallen victim to that early hype. He's continued to get better with each passing year, including this past week at USA Basketball in Colorado, where he continued to show his evolution and growth as a player. So he retains that number 1 spot as the best prospect in the rising senior class. Number 2 is Cameron Boozer. And if AJ DeBonsa is the best long-term prospect, Cameron Boozer is, in my opinion, the surest thing in high school basketball. This guy is so mature. He's so reliable. He knows how to play at a level beyond anybody else. Certainly front court prospect in the game. He just doesn't have any glaring weaknesses. At 6'9", he's a very good ball handler. He can make spot up shots. He's an inside out scoring threat. He has terrific hands, and he is, as you see there, a big time passer, specifically as an outlet passer. Remember, he is one of 2 twin sons of Carlos Boozer, and this is someone who just plays like he's 25 years old and already in the league. Just so reliable every single time he takes the court. The 3rd overall prospect in the class and the number 1 ranked guard is Darren Peterson. Now, when we break down Darren Peterson, we are talking about another big guard. Terrific positional size at 6'5", very long arms, and he's got the strong body on top of that. What separates Peterson, in my opinion, is the versatility in an almost effortless way. He has a terrific understanding of how to get to his spots, whether it's scoring over smaller guys like that, shooting it from behind the 3-point line. This is someone who understands how to create space, has terrific versatility, and all of it correlates to the half-court game. This is not someone who thrives exclusively in transition. He knows how to make plays for himself and others at multiple levels in a half-court game, and that is why he is the top-ranked guard in the rising senior class. Now, rounding out the top 4 is Darius Acuff, who finishes as the top point guard in the national class. And I'm going to be transparent. Acuff was looking at a potential dip in the EYBL season, but he came back with USA Basketball. He starred for the 18 and under team, and he led them to a gold medal. Why? Because he committed to impacting the game, not just with his scoring and playmaking, but also on the defensive end of the floor. This guy is a straight bucket with the ball in his hands, an aggressive scoring lead guard who can score in bunches. But when he's controlling the game and impacting the game on both ends, that is when he is at his best. That's exactly what he did with USA Basketball, and that is why he has retained his spot as a top 4 prospect and the number 1 lead guard in the class. All right, with all that done, I'm going to bring in my partners in crime here, Travis Branham and Eric Bossi, because as I said, guys, the top 6 have stayed the same, but things have gotten a lot closer here. We have some prospects to talk about who have made a jump and may not be done rising. So I want to phrase it to you guys this way. Let's talk about some of the biggest risers. And Trav, I'm going to go with you first because Nate Ament went from 13 to 7. But I think we all agree this jump may just be getting started here as you see some of the other big risers in the national rankings. But Trav, let's start with Nate Ament and talk about what has allowed him to crack the top 10, get that 5th star, and what could allow him to continue climbing in these national rankings.
Yeah, go back just a year ago. Nate broke out onto the national scene, playing with Team Loaded, North Carolina. At the time, he was about a 6'7", very long but very very thin forward. He could play either the 3 or 4, but what stood out at that time was the touch on his jump shot. He could step out and comfortably make shots, both off the catch and pull. He had 1 and 2 dribble pull ups at the time. Also, was able to flash his playmaking ability and vision able to see over the top of the defense. And so over the last year, we've been tracking him. I got to see him during the high school season at the John Wall Invitational back in December, where he was spectacular. And one of those questions that people around the industry have had is just how has he been able to handle physicality? Is he a big time competitor? And while he's kind of a bit emotionless on the court, he's very steady, very even keel. The kid produces in every single setting, and that not only translated in the high school season, where he also showed that he's grown roughly 2 inches, now standing every bit of 6'9". He's continuing to make shots out on the perimeter while expanding his handle and his ability to create off the dribble. And so now you fast forward to what we've been watching with Team Loaded Virginia, an absolutely stacked squad, loaded, no pun intended, but playing with a bunch of different weapons on the offensive end. And he's just been able to show that everything he does, he knows how to play with other talent around him, knows how to fill his roles and make various impacts around the court to impact winning at the end of the day. If you need him to stand out on the perimeter and make shots, he's going to do that. If they need him to defend, he's going to buckle down. He's going to give you whatever he can on the defensive end. He'll rebound. And then if you need him to go get you a bucket, if he has a mismatch on him, you can give him the ball and he's willing to go get you those buckets. So as we project moving forward, he's still really thin. He's still got a baby face. So physically, there's still a ton of upside there. And so the best basketball, he's playing really good basketball right now, but we still imagine the best basketball is ahead of him, which to your point, he might not be done climbing this rankings in the coming months. By the end of the summer, he's already starting to enter that conversation of could he be a top 5 prospect?
Yeah, and if you go to 247sports.com and you see the ranking story, you will see that I was very candid and I said he was right on the doorstep of the top 5, and we considered it. We all considered there were differing opinions within the group, and I think that is certainly a very possible landing spot for him if he continues to progress. To your point, this is someone that you identified well over a year ago and were earlier on him than anyone. But he's continued to grow. He's continued to get better. And yet still he has worlds of untapped potential. So he's someone we are going to be locked in on this summer. All right, boss, I want to ask you about a guy who really has been on the scene, but took it to a new level last week at the NBPA Top 100 camp. And that is Chris Senek. Tell me about this guy, because he's jumping from 47 all the way to 15. He's cracking 5-star status, but he too might not be done climbing if what we saw last week holds up. So what do you like about this guy?
Yeah, Chris is a guy that we've known for a while. He's been in our top 50. And I think the climb for him really started earlier this spring when he was playing with his summer team, YGC, on the Puma circuit. But what we've seen is a kid who has always shown a lot of talent in terms of length, ability to run the floor, athleticism, and some face-up ability. But what he's doing now is, he's kind of all coming together and he's playing aggressive. He's playing with a motor and he's really showing that he can be a true mismatch problem. And he's a guy that out in space is just so difficult to defend. At last week's NBPA Top 100 camp, he caused so many problems for other bigs because they just couldn't keep up with him in transition. And he was just able to get by everybody. Now add in that he can shoot the ball. And I think, Adam, you and I had this discussion.
Yeah, I was just going to bring this up.
Yeah. We think that he's a guy ultimately may really, in college, he's probably going to play a lot of 5 just due to his size, and there's not many 5s out there. But if we're looking at his skill set and what translates to the next level, I think he's a guy who's legitimately showing himself to be a 4-man with real face-up ability and some real versatility, and a guy who, while not a perfect comparison, is starting to show me some signs of a young Jabari Smith.
All right. Interesting. Well, he is up to 5-star status, climbing from 47 to 15. All right, if you followed me online or if you watched this show, you're not going to be surprised by this. The biggest riser for me, jumping over, let's see, quick math, 70 spots, Braylon Mullins from 94 to 24. I was blown away by this guy when we saw Indiana Elite and 3SSB, because not only is he a big-time shooter, But this guy's got some stuff to him, as we say. I mean, he is tough. He's scrappy defensively. He's got some lift at the rim. He checks a lot of boxes. And as I said on a recent show, having seen him so early in the spring, as I traveled to different circuits in subsequent weeks, the question I asked myself when I watched almost every other guard is, are you better than Braylon Mullins? Are you better than Braylon Mullins? So, and then I posed the question to you guys, like, hey, are we putting too much on this kid right now? Are we moving him all the way up into the top 20 too much too soon? And you both said to me the same thing. You both said, no, he deserved it. So I think we've all seen the same thing. Braylon Mullins and Boss, this reminds me, I thought of this yesterday. Remember 2 years ago when Elmarco Jackson made a big jump, and you said to me in a recruiting rankings meeting, you said, you know what you're doing, right? You're making him a McDonald's All-American. Well, Braylon Mullins is now in that range where those kind of accolades are now realistic. They're certainly not guaranteed, but I think he's in that category of guys who have a realistic chance to play his way into some of the most prestigious games in high school basketball. Either one of you have anything to add on Braylon?
No, I think you summed it up perfectly. Just that the sniper aspect of his game combined with the size and some real ability to go and create a shot off a dribble without having to pound the ball into oblivion is a real standout key.
And he defends too. All right, that's enough about Braylon Mullins. Trav, I want to ask you about one other guy, another big riser, Will Riley. Now, this is someone that I raved about during the high school season. Bossy's been a long-standing fan. He's put up huge numbers this year in the EYBL, and now he's up to number 9 in these most recent 2025 national rankings. He's got a commitment scheduled for next week. My question for you, Trav, is he going to stay in the 2025 national rankings, or what can you tell us about the intel leading up to his decision?
Yeah, the information leading up to Will Riley's decision. I'm a betting man. I am betting that he ends up in the 2024 class, and barring any changes between now and Sunday when that decision is set to be announced, I'm putting my bet on the Illinois Fighting Illini at this moment. Now, still not necessarily counting out the likes of Alabama, potentially even Kentucky making a late run here. But because after all, it is the NIL era, things can change extremely quickly. But as things stand today, I am anticipating that he will end up in 2024 and that we will be seeing him in that orange Illinois jersey next season.
All right, now that would be the 4th reclass just in the last few weeks here. If you look at Josan San and Aswin Ernhunwunsi and Mustafa Thiem. So 4 different potentially prospects. If Will Riley is to go ahead and reclassify to 2024, that would open up a spot in these rankings. We'll see what happens in the coming weeks.